Good morning and welcome to the ISO Board of Governors General Session Meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and currently all attendees are in a listen-only mode. There will be opportunity for public comment throughout today's call, at which point we will give you all instructions on how you can enter the comment queue. With that, I'd like to formally begin today's call and turn the call over to Chair Jan Shorey. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Silas. Welcome, everyone. We're so pleased to have you all with us here today. We've got a good turnout with more people signing up. This is our last meeting of the business year. It's been a very busy and very active year, and we're going to get through today's meeting and finish it out with a bang, hopefully. So with that, I will turn it over to Roger Collinton, our General Counsel and Corporate Secretary, to do the roll call.
Thank you, Chair Shorey. We'll start out with not too much of a bang, and we'll go with, we'll start with you, Chair Shorey.
Here.
Vice Chair Borenstein.
Here.
Governor Edo.
Here.
Governor Galitova.
Here.
And Governor Leslie.
Yeah.
Excellent. We have a quorum and we have the full complement of our board, and we may proceed. Back to you, Chair Shorey.
Yes, thank you very much, Roger. Okay, with this, we move on to the first item on the agenda, which is public comment on any items which are not on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an item on the agenda, we'll allow that when we get to those items. But if there is anyone that would like to make a general public comment to the board, now's your opportunity, and I'll turn it over to Silas to see if anyone's interested.
If you would like to speak under general public comment, you can press the raise hand icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Or if you are dialed in through our phone only line, you may press #2 on your telephone to enter the comment queue. At this time, there are no hands up in the comment queue.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. With that, it's time for the minutes, so I'll turn it back to Roger.
Thank you, Chair Shorey. Can I have a motion for to approve the November 12th, 2024 general session minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay, Mary Jo, we'll take the vote. Chair Shorey, your vote?
Aye.
Vice Chair Borenstein?
Aye.
Governor Edo?
Aye.
Governor Galitova?
Aye.
Governor Leslie?
Aye.
Thank you, governors. The motion passes. And back to you, Chair Shorey.
Yes, thank you very much. And it's time now for some remarks from our CEO, Elliot Mainzer. Hi, Elliot. There you are.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Chair Shorey, Vice Chair Borenstein, and governors. It's wonderful to see you for our last meeting of the year. Of course, we have a very light agenda with just one key decision item on our 2025 budget. And we then, of course, are going to see the election of the ISO Board of Governors Chair and Vice Chair and the decision on committee memberships. And then we'll finish out with some administrative business. And of course, with the passing of the torch, all of us here at the CAISO just wanted to thank you, Chair Shorey, again for a wonderful year. Really appreciated your leadership this year and brought a lot of really great energy and passion for the industry, and appreciated your guidance. So wishing all of you a wonderful, happy holiday season. Wonderful new year. It's been a fabulous year. Appreciate all the partnerships to all of our stakeholders. Thank you again, as I said yesterday, for everything you've done to help us and work together on a successful year. And again, to all our employees working very hard. Thank you again to everybody, and just been wonderful to finish up the year on a strong note. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Roger, and we'll keep moving. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Elliot. And the same to you and all the staff. We wish happy holidays to everyone. And I also want to personally thank you, Elliot, for all the help that you gave me this year. We've had kind of exciting times, and in my view, a very successful year when we look back on all the accomplishments. And so great credit to you and the staff. And I really appreciated being in this role. It's been a lot of fun. It's been interesting and enjoyable. And I also want to thank my fellow board members for trusting me with this responsibility, and we'll be moving on to another shortly, but I have certainly enjoyed it, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be in this role. So thank you all for that. With that, I think we will go ahead and roll along to the 2025 budget, which is the main item of the day. And with that, I'll turn it back to Roger to see if we have any public comment that's come in via letters or emails or?
We have not received any public comment letters on this item, and so we can go right to the topic. We
Good.
have, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, so in that case, then we turn to our Chief Financial Officer, our Vice President, and Treasurer. So, Ryan, I can't see you on my boxes here on my screen.
Thank you.
You must be there.
We're here. Hopefully you can
good.
hear us. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Yeah, a light agenda today, but an important one because we need your authorization to develop our revenue requirement here. But I'll turn it over here to April Gordon shortly. She's our Executive Director of Financial Planning and Procurement. Her team creates the annual revenue requirement and the budgets before you today. The good news is that the presentation you're about to see is really nearly identical to what you saw a month ago in executive session when we had the draft out. It's also the same presentation the stakeholders saw at our stakeholder meeting in early November. There's been just minor changes underneath some of the larger numbers. And we did increase the capital allocation next year to 30 million, from the 25 million that we had in the draft. But that comes out of capital reserves and doesn't impact the actual revenue requirements. So with that I'll turn it over to April and she can walk you through a quick summary.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Next slide, please. Good morning, Board of Governors. As Ryan mentioned, there really hasn't been much change going into the draft final version of the revenue requirement. The highlights still are we're working against a $245 million revenue requirement cap. With this 2025 revenue requirement, we're coming in about $6.5 million under that cap at $238.5 million. The biggest drivers for this increase in the revenue requirement have to do with O&M budget increases, primarily due to wage inflation, additional positions, and then also growth in the non-personnel categories. Our cash funded capital is also going to see an increase in 2025 from 8 million in 2024 to 25 million in 2025. And we're also seeing a slight growth in our supplemental service fees, and that's driven by the growth in the revenue requirement. Also new for 2025 is a new budget and grid management charge rates book format. We're intending for the book to be easier for stakeholders and yourselves to digest the information that's being presented. And with that, we'll go ahead and go into the next slide. The components of the revenue requirement are operations and maintenance budget. Here we're seeing the $20.3 million growth, 8%. Our debt service remains flat. Cash funded capital is has a $17 million increase. And then the next two components, the other costs and revenues and the operating cost reserve adjustment, actually help to reduce the revenue requirement. We're seeing a $5 million increase in our revenues, primarily EIM and reliability coordinator service fees. And then the operating cost reserve adjustment, we're seeing an $8.6 million credit there. All told, our revenue requirement going into 2025 is $238.5 million. As I mentioned, whereas it is a $36.6 million increase over 2024, it is still about $6.5 million less than the revenue requirement cap. Now, if we were taking a look at our estimated transmission volumes going into 2025, we're anticipating some growth on the grid with to the tune of about 248 terawatt hours. That's about 5.5 terawatt hours more than what we projected in 2024. Now, if we were to take those terawatt hours, divide them into the revenue requirement, we get a pro forma bundled rate of about 96 cents per megawatt hour. That is a 13 cents increase in the megawatt hour from last year. However, going into the next slide, you'll see that this is going to be the highest cost per megawatt hour over the next 5-year growth. The slide that you see here, the green bars represent the actual revenue requirement for the last 5 years. The blue bars represent the projected growth of the revenue requirement 5 years out. Now, the projected growth includes potential headcount or projection for headcount, wage inflation, non-personnel cost inflations. And the red line shows you where we sit each year against that pro forma bundled cost per megawatt hour. 2025 is the peak highest at 96 per megawatt hour. Now, when EDAM rolls out in 26, we're going to start seeing that pro forma bundled rate start to decrease. And that's where the stakeholders are really going to start benefiting from the inclusion of EDAM volumes in our calculations of the rates. Next slide, please. The O&M, I'll take you through the components of the revenue requirement over the next 5 slides. We'll start with the O&M budget. As I mentioned, we're seeing a $20.3 million increase in the O&M budget. The biggest drivers here are salaries and benefits. Salaries and benefits make up about 75% of our total O&M budget. Here we're seeing an increase in our headcount. We're also seeing the impacts of wage inflations. The next highest category in this budget is going to be under outsourced contracts and professional fees. Here we're seeing additional budget necessary to cover some of our tools that we're going to be bringing on for the interconnection management. Now, just a side note, we have been approved funding from the Department of Energy grant in connection with the CEC, and we're working through some of the reimbursements that we can expect as part of that grant. Now, the reimbursements are not included in the O&M budget or the revenue requirement overall. So if we were to include them, you would see a reduction in cost as it relates to the reimbursement from the grant. The next highest category that we're seeing in the O&M budget growth is going to be under telecom and hardware. We're seeing growth in telecom just as a recently negotiated rates. We're having to increase the budget to support that. And then the hardware, we're seeing an increase in that category to support growth in our servers. As I mentioned earlier, the budgeted headcount is also seeing an 18 headcount position growth as well. We're going to be landing at 777 positions going into 2025. Next slide, please. Our debt service is going to remain flat at $14.7 million. Here, you're going to see $11.7 million of that 14.7 repaying the debt due to bondholders in the form of principal and interest. And then $3 million is going to be collected for the required reserve. This debt will remain level. This debt amount, I should say, would remain level until 2039. But we do have the ability to reassess in 2031 if the rates are favorable. Next slide, please. Our cash funded capital contribution for the 2025 budget is going to be $25 million. Although our project budget is going to be $30 million. So we'll be using the full $25 million collected as part of the 2025 revenue requirement, plus $5 million from the long-term reserves for the cash funded capital reserves to fund the project approvals at $30 million next year. The focus areas of that project budget will continue to be within the portfolios that are listed on the slide. And then we will be working with internal groups during the year to manage those projects and to see it through. Next slide, please. Our other costs and revenues are going to be increasing $5 million, and this is primarily due to the growth in the revenue requirement. And as far as impacts the reliability coordinator funding requirement and the Western Energy Imbalance Market administrative charges. And what I mean by that is both of those service fees or charges are use the GMC revenue requirement as the basis of those charges. All told, we're seeing other costs and revenues grow by $5 million for a $68.6 million credit toward the revenue requirement. Next slide, please. Our operating cost reserve adjustment for 2025 is going to be a reduction from prior recent years, I should say, at $8.6 million. The operating cost reserve adjustment, just as a reminder, is a mechanism in which we make ourselves whole with our stakeholders. What I mean by that is any year that we over-collect in GMC charges or underspend in O&M budget or vice versa, that goes back to the stakeholders in the form of a credit or a debit. The last 3 years, we've been reconciling with the pandemic impacted years where we did have a high surplus. 2023 is the foundation of this operating cost reserve adjustment. And it was the first year after the pandemic that we were going back to normal operations. So now the 8.6 is more of a normalized operating cost reserve adjustment credit going back to the stakeholders. As part of the operating cost reserve adjustment, we also collected the operating reserve. And that makes up about $3 million of the total operating cost reserve adjustment amount. Next slide, please. Now, taking all of that into consideration, now this is all of that goes into the rate calculations going into 2025. Because of the GMC revenue requirement increase, we're seeing an increase in all of the rates. Each of them are increasing. However, the slight nuance here is, whereas the revenue requirement is increasing, the volumes to support these charges are also increasing. So it's going higher, but the volumes are expected to increase as well. Next slide, please. And just a little bit of where we've been this year and where we intend to go towards the end of year. We started off the revenue requirement discussion with the stakeholders back on August 6th. We held our internal budgeting process between August and October. We presented the draft budget and grid management charges to the public on November 1st by posting the new book, with a follow-up stakeholder meeting on November 5th. We did receive a couple of comments from stakeholders from that meeting. The questions primarily had to do with project inquiries as well as impacts of EDAM on the budget, as well as some qualifying questions around how the RC requirement, our funding requirement, is calculated. But the general consensus from those meetings was that the stakeholders had no issues with the GMC revenue requirement as it was presented, nor the resulting rates. We presented a draft budget to the Board of Governors on November 12th. We finished up our internal budgeting process between then to now. Today, I present to you the draft final version of the 2025 budget and grid management charges for review and approval. With your approval, we will go ahead and post the final rates and the GMC revenue requirement documentation so the public can actually have access to it. With that, I thank you for your time and welcome any questions.
Thank you very much, April and Ryan. We appreciate that. And the board has had the opportunity to review the budget at the prior meeting, but I want to open up for board comments or questions. And it looks like, Mary, you're jumping around on my screen, but I think your hand is up.
Yeah, let me have it up. Yeah, I just want to ask a quick question about the GMC trend line. You know, based on what you're showing us now, what do you anticipate? Are we, and I like the fact that no one had an issue with it, but since it went up, is this going to be a trend line given the volume of activity, the new activity? What is your prognosis on that?
Well, two different trends, right? The revenue requirement, yes, will continue to trend upward, obviously with inflation and growth in the company. But the rates, right, that cost per megawatt hour you see will trend downward with the launch of EDAM, right? You will have a much bigger volume market to spread the cost. So you kind of have two different trends happening there. That one slide that we had up there that showed that, but that at least over the next 5 years is where we would expect things to happen. Again, the bottom line revenue requirement going up, but everybody paying a smaller portion of that because of the larger volumes coming into the market.
Okay, it's a good answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Any other questions or comments from the board members? Okay, with that, we will open it up for public comment. I'll turn it over to Silas to see if there's anyone that would like to make a comment on the 2025 budget.
If you'd like to make a public comment, you may press the raise hand icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or #2 if you are dialed in through the phone line. At this time, I'm not seeing any hands up in the queue.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll turn it back over to Roger for a motion and vote.
Thank you, Chair Shorey. Move that the ISO Board of Governors approves the 2025 GMC revenue requirement, project budget, and resulting rates as set forth in Attachment A to the memorandum dated December 11, 2024. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank
Second,
you. Thank you. Let me take the vote. Governor Bornstein,
Aye.
Governor Eto,
Aye.
Governor Gletova,
Aye.
Governor Leslie,
aye.
and Chair Shorey.
Aye.
Thank you, governors. The motion passes.
Yes, congratulations, April and Ryan, and thank you for all of your hard work and all your staff's hard work putting this together. I know this takes months and months of effort to put this together and figure out what the right thing is, and so we do appreciate and value that contribution, and keep up the good work. So with that, we're going to move on to the annual elections and committee memberships item. I did want to make a just a prefatory comment at the beginning of this discussion. I think, as everyone knows, board members are appointed to terms on the Board of Governors for 3 years. And so Governor Bornstein and I are coming to the end of our 3-year terms. And yet, in terms of the way the process works, we go ahead and select officers for next year. We are awaiting to hear something, hopefully, from the governor's office, and that should occur sometime after the first of the year. But we're going to go ahead and move forward today without prejudging any action that may come out of the governor's office. We will go ahead and keep on keeping on until we hear something different. And so with that, as just sort of a background item, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for let Roger go ahead and handle the motions that we need to adopt to be ready administratively for next year.
Great. Thank you, Chair Shorey, and absolutely good points on that. We'll just keep rolling forward and pivot if and when necessary. So what we need is we have three items to work through here. One is the board chair and vice chair. Others are audit committee members and DMMO oversight committee members. So why don't we start with the board chair and vice chair motion? And if we have, well, typically what we've done is the vice chair becomes nominated for the board chair, but that doesn't have to be. It's up to the board. So if we have suggestions or nominations for a board chair for 2025, as well as a vice chair, we can take those now.
I'd like to go ahead and make that motion. I'd like to nominate Governor Bornstein for this awesome responsibility as the chair and Governor Eto as the vice chair.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts, suggestions as to that motion?
I'd like to thank Chair Shorey for her confidence in me.
She was really eager to pass on the baton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she was throwing it before she said anything. No, I think the confidence is well earned, Governor Bornstein. Why don't we do this? If there's no other comments, or if there are, why don't I actually give opportunities for that? I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
I'd like to thank Governor Shorey for doing a tremendous job as chair. That is not an easy task, and it takes a lot to perform the service. So she did a phenomenal job and represented us well. And her graciousness and collegiality is greatly appreciated. So thank you, Jan, for being such an awesome chair. And Severin, you have big shoes to fill.
I do indeed. Thank you, Jan. You have done a fabulous job in a
I knew I wouldn't get out of here without somebody referring to my big feet, but what can I say?
No,
Well,
I just want to add my comment that Jan, you really got us through a transitional year in a terrific way, and led us nationally when we were back east as well. And since you're not going anywhere, I'm thrilled that we will continue to serve. Also, that when we put this rotation in place, I think, Angelina, you were the first. I think we did we did that intentionally so that everyone would serve as chair and vice chair. And I think it creates for greater collegiality and has worked out quite nicely. So Severin, you passed on that one year, but now you can't pass on this year, I don't think. And Joe, that means, that you get to step up. So I just want to say thank you, Jan, again for yours.
Thank you all.
You're
Appreciate
right,
it.
Mary. The fact that we have a rotating chair and vice chair is important for building the relationship between the ISO and the board, and making sure that everybody has that insight and opportunity to serve and to take on the mantle of making sure that there's coordination. And I think we really have done well, and the fact that it's rotating it is an opportunity for all of us to be a part of this great organization even more deeply.
Well, it's with some trepidation and great excitement forward to becoming vice chair, but I just want to thank my role models, Mary, in that this past year, Jan, and next year, Severin. I look forward to learning from all of you and going forward. So thank you very much.
yeah, well, let's go ahead, and I will just comment as corporate secretary. It's a pleasure working with you, Jan, as the chair. It's you're absolutely capable and an excellent lawyer, which also increases our challenge, but it's good because it keeps us on our toes, and I appreciate that. And as I say every year, because every year I have a favorite chair and a new favorite chair, so you're all my favorites. So
Very safe.
yes. So let's move that the ISO Board of Governors elects Governor Borenstein to serve as chair of the ISO Board of Governors pursuant to Article 3, Section 4.3 of the ISO's bylaws, effective January 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, or until a successor is elected, which shall be as soon as practicable thereafter. And move that the ISO Board of Governors elects Governor Edo to serve as the vice chair of the Board of Governors, whose role will include substituting for the chair when the chair is unable to fulfill his duties, for example, due to conflicts, absence, or unforeseen reasons, effective January 1, 2025 to December 31, 2025, or until a successor is elected, which shall be as soon thereafter as practicable. And if I can have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Angelina. Governor Borenstein, your vote.
Aye.
Governor Edo.
Aye.
Governor Golitova.
Aye.
Governor Leslie.
Aye.
And soon to be former Chair Shorey.
Aye.
Thank you, Governor. The motion passes, and we can move on to our next topic of this item, which is the Audit Committee members. I understand there is potentially some change in the Audit Committee. And Governor Edo, would you like to address that?
Yes, I've learned a tremendous amount in my 2 years on the audit committee, and I feel as part of the rotation on the board, it's appropriate for me to step down from the audit committee this year and seek to become a member of the GMM oversight committee in a more formal way.
Okay.
And we're going to miss you. But hope that you will join us in the meetings and participate even as a non-voting member, because your contributions are invaluable, Joe. So thank you for your service.
You're welcome, and I look forward to continue participating in the meeting in a non-voting capacity.
Any comments, questions, anything else before we move to a motion?
I look forward to serving with Angelina another year, 2025 on audit. And Roger, you do a fantastic job. And yeah, so I just would like to express my enthusiasm for audit in 2025.
Well, good.
Participating.
It's a critical function, and we appreciate all of your diligence in that. And in the past, we've vacillated from 2 members to 3 members on the audit committee, which is the most we can have on a committee, so we don't end up with a full board quorum. And so we will be down to 2 members again, which is fine. That works absolutely perfectly well. Any other thoughts or comments before I read the motion? Okay, move that the audit committee of the ISO Board of Governors will now consist of Mary Leslie and Angelina Galitova as the chair. That is Angelina as the chair. There was a comma in there. Effective January 1, 2025. Have a motion, please.
So moved.
moved.
Oh, second.
Second.
Wow, you're
You
in
can pick and
stereo
choose.
today. Okay, Governor Bornstein, your vote.
Aye.
Governor Edo,
Aye.
Governor Galitova,
Aye.
Governor Leslie,
I
and Chair Shorey.
Aye.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Again, Joe, we appreciate your service on the audit committee. I really appreciate your diligence and how you dig into everything. It really, again, it makes us all better. And we will continue to improve even more on the DMM Oversight Committee. So as Joe alluded to, Joe is seeking to join the DMM Oversight Committee. And I think that is the only change that would be effectuated on the Oversight Committee.
No, Roger, I think that because Severin's going to be the chair, we were going to change the chair for 1 year to me, since I'm the second member on the committee. And then when Severin isn't the chair anymore, he'll come back and swoop in and take it right
Okay.
back.
Well, maybe
So I don't
Joe's
know if
gonna
we can-
want to be chair. You don't know.
Oh, well, you never know. That's true. I shouldn't
know.
foreclose that. So I wasn't
Well-
sure if this resolution was only covering 2025 or if we referenced that Severin will come back when he's done being the chair.
Well, I think,
Or we do that next year. I don't know.
yeah, I think what we would generally do, I mean, I think we have a motion that identifies who the chair is. And we can take that up now and just designate and have the board approve you, Jan, as the chair. Or we could have just the members of the Oversight Committee, and the Oversight Committee could elect their chair.
So
And-
Roger,
and-
I think the motion that we have does reflect Jan as chair, the one that you have to read.
It does.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is there's 2 ways we could do it, is that we could do it here, or you can do it in the Oversight Committee, which is oftentimes where the chairs get selected within the
Let's just
particular.
get
committee.
it done now. I would
Okay.
say,
Yeah, see,
since we're doing it anyway.
an excellent judgment by the future chair of the board.
And the soon to be past chair of the DMM.
Right, exactly. I'll just stop that nonsense right now. All right. So unless there's any other comments or suggestions, I will go ahead and read the motion.
I'd just like to say that having been on both the committees, DMM and audit, I'd like to express my appreciation for all the hard work that ISO staff puts into the committees. Again, an excellent organization that's highly functioning, extremely professional, that's reflected not only at the highest level of management, but also on the board and the committees that we serve on and support, including the working group, which is the communications working group, which is very effective as well. So kudos to everyone. It's the end of the year, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate the team and everybody for doing such a terrific job and running such an excellent organization. So thank you.
Here. Absolutely. You know, for a relatively small board, you guys do a lot, and it's impressive. We appreciate it.
You
Move
work
the-
as hard, but that's okay.
Move that the ISO Board of Governors elects Joe Edo to serve as a member of the Department of Market Monitoring Oversight Committee effective January 1, 2025, which will now consist of Joe Edo, Severin Borenstein, and Jan Shorey, who will be the chair, as well as a non-voting WEM governing body member, which is currently Anita Decker. Can I have a
So-
motion? Oh, Angelina, you didn't even let me get it out. All right. you're
I
first.
know, yes.
Second,
Second,
thank you, future Chair Borenstein. And if I can have your vote, sir,
aye.
Governor Edo,
Aye.
Governor Galetova,
I,
Governor Leslie,
Aye.
and Chair Shorey.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you, governors. That is the end of agenda item number 5, and I'll turn it back to you, Chair Shorey.
Great, thank you very much. And I think we've come to the end of our business for today. Did anyone have any questions on any of the informational reports that were provided under agenda item number 6? Okay, then I think that we have come to the end of our formal board meetings, open board meetings for this year. I want to wish everyone a very happy holiday, and we'll look forward to getting going in the new year with our newly selected leadership, and hopefully we'll continue on the pace that we're on to have another excellent year. So thank you all for participating, and I think that's it. We'll adjourn.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Chair Shorey.
Care. Thanks, everybody.